The evening sky turned purple as the sun dipped below the mountains. Hannah Park walked through her wheat field, checking for signs of damage after the strange light she had seen in the night sky. Her boots made soft sounds against the dry earth as she moved between the tall stalks. Hannah had lived alone on this Montana farm for 3 years, ever since inheriting it from her grandfather. She preferred the quiet life, away from the busy city where she had grown up. A cool breeze rustled the wheat as she reached the far edge of her property. Something caught her eye: a section where the plants were flattened in a perfect circle. Hannah frowned. This wasn't like the usual damage from deer or other animals. "That's odd," she murmured to herself, stepping carefully into the circle. The wheat stalks weren't broken but bent, as if something heavy had pressed them down from above. A soft sound, something between a whimper and a chirp, made her freeze. Hannah turned slowly toward the center of the circle. There, half hidden by the bent wheat, lay a small figure. At first, Hannah thought it might be a child, but as she moved closer, she realized it was something else entirely. The creature was small, about the size of a 10-year-old, but its skin shimmered with a silvery blue color that no human possessed. Its face was delicate with large, completely black eyes that blinked up at her. "Hello there," Hannah said softly, kneeling down. "Are you hurt?" The creature made another chirping sound and tried to move away, but stopped suddenly, its face twisting in pain. Hannah noticed a dark purple liquid seeping from a wound on its leg. "You're injured," she said. "Don't be afraid. I want to help you." The creature watched her with those strange black eyes, seeming to understand her words even though it only responded with quiet chirps. Hannah looked around, wondering where this being had come from. Was it someone's exotic pet that had escaped? She had heard rumors of rich people keeping unusual animals, though she'd never seen anything like this before. "I'll take you to my house and help you," she decided. "Then we can figure out where you belong." Carefully, Hannah removed her jacket and wrapped it around the small figure. The creature tensed but didn't resist as she gently lifted it. It was surprisingly light, as if its bones were hollow like a bird's. As she carried the creature back to her farmhouse, Hannah felt its rapid heartbeat against her arms. For beats, then a pause, then 4 more, a rhythm unlike any animal she knew. Inside the house, Hannah placed her strange guest on the sofa and turned on more lights to better examine the wound. The purple blood had already started to dry, forming a crust around a clean gash about 3 inches long. "This looks like a cut from something sharp," she said, more to herself than to the creature. "Let me clean it for you." When she returned with a first aid kit, the creature was looking around her living room with obvious curiosity. Its gaze lingered on her bookshelf, then moved to the photographs on the wall, then to the television. Hannah cleaned the wound gently, surprised when the creature held perfectly still despite what must have been pain. She applied antiseptic cream and a bandage, working quickly and efficiently. "There you go," she said when she finished. "That should help." The creature looked at the bandage, then up at Hannah. It made a new sound, almost like a song, rising and falling in pitch. Was it trying to thank her? "You're welcome," Hannah replied, smiling. "I think you need rest now. Are you hungry?" She brought a variety of foods: an apple, some bread, a piece of cheese, even a small bowl of dog food she kept for the neighborhood strays. The creature sniffed each item carefully before choosing the apple, which it ate by breaking off small pieces with surprisingly human-like fingers. As night fell, Hannah prepared a comfortable bed in the spare room. She placed a bowl of water next to it and showed the creature where the bathroom was, though she wasn't sure if it understood. "Sleep well," she said, turning off the light. "Tomorrow we'll figure out where you came from." Later that night, Hannah lay awake, thinking about her unusual guest. She had no idea that in just 3 days, her simple life as a farmer would change forever when the creature she thought was a lost pet would look her in the eyes and speak of marriage. For 3 days, Hannah cared for her strange guest with growing curiosity. She had named it Blue because of its shimmering blue-silver skin. Blue seemed to recover quickly from its leg injury, the purple wound healing at a remarkable rate. Hannah noticed that Blue watched everything she did with intense interest. When she read books in the evening, Blue's black eyes followed the movement of her finger across the page. When she worked on her laptop, Blue would sit nearby, head tilted as if studying the screen. You're smarter than any pet I've ever seen, Hannah said on the third morning as she changed Blue's bandage. The creature made a series of melodic chirps that almost sounded like words. That day, Hannah went about her farm chores while Blue sat on the porch, watching her feed the chickens and water the vegetable garden. Hannah found herself talking to Blue as if it could understand her. My grandfather taught me that these tomatoes need water every other day, she explained as she worked. He knew everything about farming. I still miss him. Blue chirped in response, a sound that somehow conveyed sympathy. That evening, Hannah made a simple dinner of rice and vegetables. As usual, she set a plate for Blue on the table. She had discovered that Blue preferred plant foods, especially fruits and root vegetables. Hannah sat down across from her guest and began to eat. She was halfway through her meal when Blue set down its fork and looked directly at her. The food is very good, Hannah Park. Thank you. Hannah's chopsticks clattered to the table. She stared at Blue, her mouth open in shock. You can talk? Blue nodded. Yes. I have learned your language by listening to you and watching the moving pictures on your device. But. Hannah struggled to find words. Who are you? What are you? My name is Dury, the creature said. I am a research scout from the planet we call Aeolium. Hannah felt her heart racing. You're an alien? A real alien? Yes. My species has been studying Earth for many years. I was sent to collect data on your agricultural methods. Dury gestured toward the window that overlooked Hannah's fields. Your planet has remarkable diversity in food production. Your ship, Hannah whispered. The lights I saw in the sky that night. My vessel malfunctioned during entry into your atmosphere. I was forced to eject, which is how I was injured. Dury touched the nearly healed wound on her leg. You found me before my emergency beacon could alert my people. Hannah tried to process this information. All the science fiction movies she had watched had not prepared her for the reality of sitting across her kitchen table from an actual alien. Why didn't you speak to me before now? I needed to learn your language first, Dury explained. And I needed to determine if you were dangerous. Many species react with fear or violence when encountering beings different from themselves. I thought you were someone's lost pet, Hannah admitted, feeling embarrassed now. Dury made a sound that might have been laughter. That is what I concluded. It was safer to let you believe that while I recovered. Hannah looked at the alien with new eyes. The delicate features that had seemed animal-like before now appeared intelligent and expressive. Dury's movements were precise and graceful. How do you know my full name? I never told you that. I saw it on your mail, Dury replied. Your written language was simple to decode. This is incredible, Hannah said, still trying to absorb the situation. Are there others like you here on Earth? No, I came alone. But my people will come looking for me soon. Our ships can track the unique signature of our biology. Hannah had so many questions she wanted to ask, but before she could continue, Dury placed a small, four-fingered hand on the table and looked at her with those deep black eyes. Hannah Park, there is something I must tell you according to the laws of my world. What is it? The care you have provided me, shelter, food, and healing, these actions have deep meaning among my people. Dury's voice became formal. In my culture, when one being saves another's life and provides for them in their time of need, it creates a sacred bond. What kind of bond? Hannah asked, suddenly nervous. Dury straightened her posture. According to the customs of Aeolium, your actions have initiated what you would call a marriage bond between us. Hannah's water glass slipped from her fingers, spilling across the table. Marriage, she gasped. But I was just being kind. I didn't know. I understand this is surprising, Dury said calmly. But in my world, the purest connections are formed through acts of compassion without expectation of reward. She paused. You saved my life, Hannah Park. To my people, there is no greater foundation for a lifelong bond. Hannah stared at Dury across the table, trying to understand what the alien had just said. Marriage? With an alien she had known for only 3 days? It had to be some kind of misunderstanding. Dury, she said slowly, on Earth, marriage is very different. People spend time getting to know each other first. They date, they fall in love, then they decide to get married. Dury's head tilted slightly. Love comes after the bond is formed, not before. This is the way of my people for thousands of years. Hannah stood up and paced around the kitchen. But I didn't know I was agreeing to anything. I was just helping what I thought was an injured animal. Your intent does not change the meaning of your actions, Dury explained patiently. When you provided me with shelter, food, and healing, you performed the 3 sacred acts of bonding. Hannah ran her hands through her hair in frustration. But that's not fair. I didn't know the rules. Dury's expression changed to one of concern. You wish to reject our bond? It's not rejection, Hannah said quickly, seeing how upset Dury looked. It's just that humans don't form relationships this way. We need time to get to know each other. Time. Dury repeated the word thoughtfully. This is reasonable. Among my people, the bonding period lasts for 1 full cycle of our moon. During this time, the pair learns about each other. See? That makes sense, Hannah said with relief. We can just say we're in that period now. But Dury shook her head. The bonding period comes after the agreement is made. You have already performed the acts that seal the bond. Before Hannah could respond, a soft humming sound came from outside. Dury jumped up from the table, her black eyes wide. They have found me sooner than I expected. Who? My people. A rescue team. Dury moved to the window and looked out at the darkening sky. They will be here by morning. Is that bad? Hannah asked, joining Dury at the window. It could be, Dury said quietly. My people have strict laws about contact with developing worlds like Earth. As a research scout, I am permitted to observe but not to interact directly with the local population. But it wasn't your fault. Your ship crashed. That does not matter. The fact that I have spent days in your home, accepting your care. Dury turned to Hannah with worry in her eyes. Unless we are bonded, I will be punished for unauthorized contact. Punished how? I will lose my position. My research will be discredited. I may be prohibited from space travel forever. Dury's voice trembled slightly. Everything I have worked for will be lost. Hannah felt a wave of sympathy for the alien. It wasn't fair that Dury should be punished for something that wasn't her fault. What if we pretend? Hannah suggested suddenly. Just until your people leave. We can act like we're married, or bonded, or whatever they expect. Hope brightened Dury's face. You would do this for me? Of course. It's just pretending, right? And then once they're gone, we can figure things out. Thank you, Hannah Park. Dury reached out and touched Hannah's hand with her cool, smooth fingers. But you should know that my people are telepathic. They can sense emotional connections between beings. They can read my mind? Hannah pulled her hand away in alarm. Not exactly. They cannot read thoughts, but they can sense genuine emotional bonds. If they sense deception, then we'd better make it convincing, Hannah said with determination. Tell me what I need to know about being bonded to someone from Aeolium. They spent the next few hours with Dury explaining the customs of her world. Bonded pairs on Aeolium shared everything: food, living space, and knowledge. They wore matching symbols on their clothing to show their connection. They spoke to each other with respect and stood close together in the presence of others. We should also know basic things about each other, Hannah suggested. What's your favorite color? Do you have family? Dury seemed confused by the questions at first but soon understood their purpose. She told Hannah about her home on Aeolium, a world with 2 moons and vast oceans of deep purple. She described her work as a research scout and her fascination with Earth's diverse ecosystems. In return, Hannah shared stories about growing up in the city before moving to her grandfather's farm. She explained human concepts like friendship, dating, and family gatherings. As night deepened, Hannah realized she was actually enjoying learning about Dury and her world. There was something honest and direct about the alien that Hannah found refreshing. "I think we can make this work," Hannah said as they prepared for bed. "Just for a little while, until your people leave." Dury nodded, but there was something in her expression that Hannah couldn't quite read. "There is one more thing you should know," Dury said quietly. "Among my people, a false bond is considered more shameful than no bond at all." Before Hannah could ask what that meant, a bright light filled the room from outside. The rescue team had arrived. The bright light outside Hannah's farmhouse grew stronger, illuminating the night like day. Hannah peered out the window and gasped. A sleek silver craft, about the size of a small bus, hovered silently over her wheat field. It settled gently in the exact spot where she had found Dury. "They're here," Dury said, standing close to Hannah. "Remember what we practiced. Act natural." "Natural?" "There's a spaceship in my field," Hannah whispered, her heart pounding. "Nothing feels natural about this." Dury took Hannah's hand. Her touch was cool but comforting. "Just follow my lead." They walked outside together and stood on the porch as a door slid open on the side of the craft. 3 tall figures emerged, each with the same shimmery skin as Dury but in different colors. The tallest one, with deep blue skin, led the group toward the house. "That is Tejo," Dury whispered. "He is the commander of our research division." Tejo stopped a few feet from the porch and studied Hannah with large black eyes. He was nearly 7 feet tall, making Hannah feel small and vulnerable. "So," he said in perfect English, "this is the Earth creature who found you." His tone was cold and dismissive. Dury stepped forward. "Commander Tejo, this is Hannah Park." "She is not a creature. She is my bonded partner who saved my life after the crash." Tejo's expression changed instantly. His eyes widened, and he looked from Dury to Hannah with new interest. "Bonded? You have formed a sacred bond with this human?" "Yes," Dury said firmly. "Hannah provided me shelter, food, and healing without knowing who or what I was. She acted from pure compassion." To Hannah's surprise, Tejo and the other 2 aliens bowed deeply to her. "Forgiveness, honored bondmate," Tejo said, his voice now respectful. "We did not understand your status." Hannah glanced at Dury, who gave a small nod of encouragement. "You are welcome in my home," Hannah said, remembering the formal greeting Dury had taught her. The aliens followed them inside, their tall forms making Hannah's farmhouse seem suddenly small. The other 2 introduced themselves as Mina and June, both medical officers sent to check on Dury's condition. While Mina examined Dury's healing leg wound, Tejo spoke with Hannah in the kitchen. His attitude had completely changed. Instead of looking down at her, he now treated her with careful respect. "Your home is simple," he said, looking around. "But comfortable." "Thank you," Hannah replied, not sure if it was a compliment. "Would you like some tea?" Tejo accepted the offering, another custom Dury had explained was important in their culture. As Hannah prepared the tea, Tejo asked her questions about her farm and her life. His interest seemed genuine now. "Dury tells me you grow your own food," he said. "This is admirable. On Aeolium, food production is highly automated." "My grandfather taught me everything about farming," Hannah explained, finding it easier to talk about familiar topics. "Each plant has its own needs and schedule." "Fascinating. Your species has a remarkable connection to your planet." During dinner, which Hannah hastily prepared for everyone, the conversation turned to more serious matters. Tejo explained that their people had been observing Earth for centuries, watching human development from a distance. "We have strict rules about interaction with developing worlds," he said. "Dury's crash was unfortunate, but her bonding with you changes things." "How so?" Hannah asked, passing a bowl of rice to Mina. "A bondmate is considered family," June explained. "By our laws, family members have rights that transcend planetary boundaries." Hannah wasn't sure what that meant, but she nodded as if she understood. Later, as the aliens discussed repair plans for Dury's scout ship, Tejo revealed something that caught Hannah's attention. "We face a grave threat in our star system," he told her. "A species from beyond our knowledge has begun aggressive expansion. We seek potential allies with certain qualities our people lack." "And you thought humans might help?" Hannah asked. "Perhaps." Tejo studied her carefully. "Your kind possesses remarkable adaptability and creativity. Most species would have reacted with fear to finding someone like Duri. Yet you showed compassion." Duri, who had been quiet during this exchange, reached across the table and took Hannah's hand. "I told you she was special." The gesture felt natural, and Hannah realized she was no longer acting. She genuinely liked Duri and felt protective of her. That night, after the aliens returned to their ship to rest, they preferred their own sleeping quarters. Hannah and Duri sat on the porch looking at the stars. "Your commander seems to think humans could help your people somehow," Hannah said. "Yes. Our civilization is very advanced technologically, but we have become rigid in our thinking. We need fresh perspectives." Duri looked at Hannah. "Your bond with me might be the first bridge between our worlds." Hannah thought about this as she watched the distant glow of the alien ship in her field. What had started as a simple act of kindness was becoming something much bigger than she could have imagined. "I'm beginning to think this fake marriage might be the most important thing I've ever done," she said softly. Duri's expression was hard to read in the moonlight. "Yes. But remember what I told you about false bonds." The warning hung in the air between them as they sat in silence, watching the stars. The morning sun cast long shadows across Hannah's farm as she walked through her wheat field one last time. The alien ship had been there for 5 days now, a silver disk that reflected the sunlight like a mirror. The repair work on Duri's scout vessel was almost complete. Hannah found Duri sitting by the small pond at the edge of the property, watching the fish swim in lazy circles. "Your world has such beauty in simple things," Duri said as Hannah sat beside her. "On Aeolium, we have forgotten how to appreciate such moments." Hannah picked up a smooth stone and skipped it across the water. "I've been thinking about what happens next." "I must return with my people," Duri said softly. "Now that my ship is repaired, there is no reason for me to stay." "And our bond? The marriage thing?" Duri turned to face her. "It can be dissolved easily once I return home. It was only a necessary deception." They sat in silence for a while, listening to the birds and the gentle splash of fish jumping for insects. "What if it wasn't just a deception?" Hannah finally asked. The question had been on her mind since yesterday, when Tejo had explained more about the threat his people faced. "What do you mean?" Duri's black eyes widened slightly. "I've been thinking about what Tejo said, about your people needing allies. What if, instead of pretending, we created something real? Not a marriage, but a genuine connection between our worlds?" Duri tilted her head, a gesture Hannah now recognized as curiosity. "How would we do this?" "I could go back with you," Hannah suggested, the words coming out in a rush. "I could be a sort of ambassador. The first human to officially know about your people." "You would leave your farm? Your home?" Hannah looked around at the land she had worked for 3 years. It was beautiful and it was hers, but suddenly it seemed small compared to the vastness that Duri represented. "My cousin has always wanted this place. He would take good care of it while I'm gone." Hannah picked up another stone. "Besides, I've never been farther than Chicago. The chance to see another world." "It would not be easy," Duri warned. "You would be the only human among my people. Everything would be strange to you." "I'm pretty adaptable," Hannah smiled. "And I'd have you as my guide, right?" When they presented the idea to Tejo later that day, he was initially skeptical. The 3 aliens sat at Hannah's kitchen table, their tall forms making the chairs look like children's furniture. "It is unprecedented," Tejo said after hearing them out. "No human has ever visited Aeolium." "That's exactly why it's a good idea," Hannah argued. "Your people need to understand humans better if we're going to be allies against this threat you mentioned. Who better to teach them than an actual human?" Mina, the medical officer, spoke up. The biological differences would need to be addressed. Our atmosphere, food, gravity, all slightly different from Earth. We can adapt our living quarters for her needs, June suggested. It would be an interesting scientific project. Tejo considered this, his long fingers tapping on the table. And what of your status with Dury? The bond was a deception, was it not? Hannah glanced at Dury before answering. It started that way, yes. But I've come to care about Dury and her well-being. Maybe not in the way your people define a bond, but in a human way. As a friend I want to help. Friendship, Tejo repeated the word as if tasting it. This concept exists among our people, but not with the same importance you humans give it. Then that's something else I can teach you about, Hannah said. After much discussion, Tejo agreed to the proposal. Hannah would visit Aeolium as Earth's unofficial representative, with Dury as her liaison. The visit would be temporary at first, 3 months by Earth time, with the option to extend if things went well. 2 weeks later, Hannah stood in her farmhouse, packing a small bag. She had arranged for her cousin to watch the farm and told her friends she was taking a research trip abroad. Technically true, just not on this planet. She had chosen her items carefully, some family photos, her grandfather's pocket watch, seeds from her garden, and a few books about Earth's cultures and history. Dury appeared in the doorway. The ship is ready. Are you having second thoughts? Hannah looked around at the simple life she was leaving behind. The familiar walls, the worn sofa where she had first placed Dury, thinking she was a lost pet. So much had changed in such a short time. No second thoughts, she said, closing her bag. Just new beginnings. Outside, the ship hummed quietly, ready for departure. Hannah took one last look at her farm, the fields golden in the afternoon light. Then she turned and walked up the ramp with Dury. As the door closed behind them, Hannah felt a mix of fear and excitement. She was leaving everything she knew, but she was also about to see things no human had ever seen before. Ready? Dury asked, taking her hand. Ready, Hannah replied, squeezing Dury's fingers gently. The ship rose silently into the sky, carrying Hannah toward the stars and a new chapter in human history that had begun with a simple act of kindness to what she had thought was a lost pet.